All right, this problem has two steps in it. The first step is the common denominator. So what's the common denominator here for the right hand side? That's the first part of this problem. So you just want to write down a negative 8x minus 3, and then you've got negative 53 over ax minus 2. But in this case, you multiply this by ax minus 2 like this. Right? When you multiply it by ax minus 2, then you can kind of fuse it together, and this is the denominator. Right? Now, this part is equal to this guy, which is 24x squared plus 25x minus 47 is equal to this part over ax minus 2. Do you see how we've kind of like matched this? The ax minus 2 can cancel out now, and you're only looking at these parts. That's the first step. The only thing that we've done is multiply this by ax minus 2 because it's the common denominator, so this comes at the top. Now, you want to find the value on the right hand side which has an x squared. So do you see how this is 24x squared? So what numbers multiplied will give you x squared? It's only these two, right? This and this one, right? You're basically foiling it. So when you foil it, you get negative 8a negative 8a x squared, and then you'll have a lot of other terms, but they're not important because you just want to compare this to 24x squared. That's going to save you time. This thing saves time, okay? And so therefore negative 8 is equal to 24. That's it. That's the matching the coefficients idea. Remember, if you don't understand this, there are many videos on this channel where we've covered this. So what is a equal to? A obviously is equal to negative 3 because negative 8 times negative 3 gives you positive 24. And so therefore negative 3 is your answer. Now the question for you is, what is the value of a? Remember, you just want to compare this 20x squared to this times this, because that's the only value that's going to give you an x squared. You're going to have some other terms, but they're not as important. So what is this value? Compare it to 20 and then try to solve for the value of a. So let's see if you can solve this problem. This is a very solid problem. It guarantees you an improvement in your SAT score. Let's move on to the next problem after this. This is a solid SAT problem. So what do you need to do in this problem is, first of all, find the common denominator here, or what's the common factor? It's 3. So you just divide by 3 on all sides. This is going to greatly simplify your life, okay? So 3 is gone. You get x squared, 1x squared, right? 12 divided by 3 gives you 4x, and then 6 divided by 3 gives you 2. And you got this value, right? Now, what you want to think about is this is ax squared plus bx plus c. And then you just use the quadratic formula. What's the quadratic formula? Negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Right? And then you just want to solve it. Why are you using this method? Because you already see these square roots. If you see square roots, that means this is a quadratic formula kind of a problem. Okay, so now you just write this down. So what is b? B is equal to 4. So you can write this as, I'm just going to write this over here, negative 4 plus minus, and then you write in the square root, you're going to write down b squared minus 4ac. So what is b squared? It's 4 squared, like this part squared. B is 4, right? B squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 2. Right? So you get these values. So 4 squared minus 4 times 2. So you get 16 minus 8, which is equal to 8. So this is plus minus 8 over 2 times 1. Right? So now immediately you can see, just comparing this, this is out. Right? And then 4 divided by 2 gives you negative 2. So therefore, you already see a negative 2. So these are out. And so this is your answer. But let's simplify this a bit more. What is 8? It's square root of 4 times square root of 2, right? 4 times 2 is 8, and so square root of 4 is 2. So you write this down like this, and you separate this 2 over here. So therefore, you're going to get negative 1 plus minus, of course there's a minus here, square root of 2. My bad, I made a mistake here. This should be negative 2 because 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So it's going to be negative 2 plus minus square root of 2, and that is this answer. Okay, let's look at this problem now. A very quick question for you. If you have this problem, can you tell me in your mind, see and calculate, what is the b squared minus 4ac equal to? Just this term, because this term is sometimes can get complicated. So what is this value equal to? Then it's easy. All you need to do is plus minus this over 2a, right? But the question for this particular section is, what is the value of b squared minus 4ac? So plug it. Let's see what answer you get in it. This kind of a problem is one of the most common SAT problems. So you want to know very well how to solve it. So how do we do this? First of all, if you have parentheses, you're going to distribute it. Okay, so you get C is equal to 5 over 9 F minus all of this, 5 nines 32 this part. Okay, now I'm going to give you a shortcut. The shortcut is you basically are going to ignore all of this. Okay, just imagine you have this equation right now. Just using this equation you can do a lot of things which is going to help you solve this problem. So when you have this equation here and you have just this left hand side and the right hand side is a value, a variable and a number, then you always want to remember for every 1 unit change in f, means this guy, c changes, the left hand side, c changes by 5/9. So c changes by 5/9 if f changes by 1. That's the main idea. Remember this graph. C changes by 5/9 if f is 1. So that's it here. That's it over here. A temperature increase of 1 degree Fahrenheit is equal to a temperature increase of 5/9. So that's it. But you can do one more thing. C is equal to 5/9. So how about we flip this? So C is equal to 5/9. I'm going to put 9 to the top and 5 to the bottom, or I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So you get 9/5 C is equal to F. So I got rid of this and move it to the other side. I'm going to rewrite this as F is equal to 9/5 C. And now you can use the same trick. For every 1 in C, F changes by 9/5. So in other words, if C changes by 1 degree Celsius, then Fahrenheit changes by 9/5. Okay, but 9/5 can also be written as 1.8. Right? When you divide 9 divided by 5, you get 1.8, and that's what's over here. Temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius, which means temperature degree of this guy by 1 degree is equivalent to a temperature increase of 1.8 in F. And so 2 is also correct. So 1 and 2 combined give you D as the answer. This clearly is out. A temperature change of 5/9. That's not important. You never do a temperature of 5/9 is equivalent to 1 degree Celsius. So 1 degree Celsius we already found, right? The change in 1 degree Celsius is over here. It's not 5/9, it's 9/5. So that's why this one is out. Okay, very easy. Remember, all you need to do is you have this part. One change here gives you 5/9 change for the C value. All right, let's try this problem real quick. So if the population of a country, this P stands for population, is related to the temperature of that country, okay? So the temperature increases, the population increases. Maybe it's a tourist country. Then what is the change in the population for every 1 degree Celsius? So if the T changes by 1 degree, how much does the population change by? Very easy. The answer is right in front of you. Okay, but also what happens if the population were to change by 1 unit? Then can you deduce how much the temperature would have changed? Think about this problem. Remember, you just need this part. You don't actually need this part to solve this problem. This is a relatively complicated problem, and if you're getting this problem, I would think you would definitely get a 700 plus score on your SAT. All right, let's move on to the next question. Question number 16. This one is relatively complicated, but I'm going to give you an easy answer for this. So as soon as you see this kind of a question and you're asked what is one possible solution, 9 out of 10 times the answer is going to be either 0 or 1 or 2. And if these don't work, then you can use -1 and -2. Many times just these answers will help you a lot. So let's see if 0 works, but actually you're told that x is greater than 0. So why don't we try 1? So remember, our most obvious answers are 0, 1 and 2. So does that work here? So let's see. 1 cubed times 1 squared minus 5 is equal to 4 times 1. So what do you get? 1 times 1, and my bad, there's a negative here. I forgot to put the negative, so it's a negative. 1 minus 5 is equal to -4. So what is 1 minus 5? It's -4 is equal to -4. Works. Done. Now, if you want to know the real way of solving it, you actually distribute this, and then eventually you'll see that you get this equation: x to the 5th minus 5x cubed plus 4x is equal to 0. And then you isolate this, you get x squared, x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus 4 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic form, so don't worry about it if you don't know this. You can basically, it's done in one of my other videos. You will write it like this, and when you solve it, you'll get 4 answers. You'll get 0 because of this. You'll get plus minus 2 and plus minus 1. But the main idea is you can solve it this way. This makes it much harder, or you can just start guessing these many times. Even this will work. But this is the standard way of solving it. This is the quadratic form method of solving it, and it's done on one of my other videos on this channel. All right, now you try this problem instead of this one. It's the same idea. Remember, possible solution means you want to think about 0, 1, and 2. Of course, x is greater than 0, so obviously x works here. But see, if 1 works, if 1 doesn't work, 2 should work. All right, and then also if these don't work, then -1 and -2 will work. But I think if you do it correctly, one of these has to work. So post your answers in the comments to tell me which of these will work for this particular solution. All right, there's no escape from the fractions on the SAT test. Okay, very easy problem, even though it's question number 17. So what do? You group together the x terms. How do you group together the x terms? You got 7, 4, and 9. Because there's a 9 here, you can just simply combine it. So you get 7x minus 4x, right? You can combine it because it's a common denominator. 7 minus 4 is equal to 3x. And then over here, you need another common denominator. You've got 12 and 4. So you multiply by 3 on both sides to make it 3 over 12. So you get 3 over 12 plus 5 over 12 like this. But because they have the same common denominator, you can fuse them together. You can fuse them, you can combine them. 3 plus 5 over 12. Right? But 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. So you can write this actually as equals 8 over 12. And then 8 over 12, you can cross multiply. But remember, there's a slightly easier method to do this. You can reduce this. 4 times 2 is 8 and 4 times 3 is 12. Right? 4 times 2 is 8 and 4 times 3 is 12. And then you can do one more thing. You can take x times 1 and x times 3. So what do you get? X over 3 is equal to 2 over 3. You don't have to do any magic here. 3 and 3 match, x should be matched to 2. So therefore x is equal to 2. So you can see a relatively more complicated problem. You can always do one or the other math trick to simplify your life, and this way your neurons also grow for the SAT, right? So remember, this is a faster way of solving this, and you've got the answer very quickly. All right, now I got a very simple problem for you, just this part. But remember, don't try to cross multiply. Try to reduce it more intelligently. How can you reduce these two, and then how can you reduce these two? And then you'll see the answer will just fall on your lap. The SAT is filled with these shortcuts that you want to just identify and move very quickly on the test to the harder problems. So don't waste your time cross multiplying, just do this, and let's see if you're able to solve this problem in less than 10 seconds. All right, this is a standard SAT geometry problem. So what you're given is this value here, y is equal to 75, and then you simply plug this inside here. So let's plug it in. You get 180 minus z is equal to 2 times 75. Because y is equal to 75, you just replace it with this y here. So 2 times 75 is 150. So you can write this as 150 like this, right? So you get 180 minus z is 150. Now you just subtract 180 from both sides. Right, you subtract 180 from both sides, you get negative z is equal to this part. Don't forget the negative sign. Negative z is equal to negative 30. Positive z is equal to positive 30 because the negatives cancel out on both sides. So z is equal to 30 degrees. Okay, just z is equal to 30 degrees, which means this guy is equal to 30. Now what you're given is, this is the second step here. These are equal. If these are equal, that means these two angles are equal. Let's call it a. So now remember, z plus a, right? This is my z over here, plus a, because you got this a and this a, they are equal. Why are they equal? Because they are the base angles of an isosceles triangle, right? So z plus a is equal to 180 degrees. Then you got a plus a is 2a. You can write down z plus 2a is equal to 180. But of course, z, I forgot, is actually 30. So I'm just going to make this 30. So this is actually 30 over here. 30 plus 2a is equal to 180. Let's subtract 30 from both sides. You get 2a is equal to 180 minus 30, which makes it 150. And so therefore, a is equal to 150 over 2, which is 75 degrees. So in other words, this guy is 75 degrees. If this is 75 and this entire thing is 180, can you guess what is this? Yes, you get 180 minus 75 is equal to this angle x, which is 105 degrees. And so 105 is your answer. Remember the main steps: you plug it in, find the z value, then you find the a value, which is 75, and then subtract it to get 105, which is your final answer. All right, now you try this problem assuming this is 60 degrees. Remember, the first thing you do is plug it inside here. So you get 180 minus z is equal to 2 times 60, which is 120. Can you guess what is z equal to? Once you have z here, then you want to find out these two values here. Z is very easy to get, right? And so z, once you have the z, you take this value and put it inside here, and then do 180 minus this value to get this. Remember, practice this. If you don't practice, your score is not going to improve and you'll be stuck. So try to practice on paper or in your head and post the answers in the comments. And let's move on to the next question. This is a very standard system of equations problem from the no calculator section. So what do you do? At a lunch stand, each hamburger, right, you're asked, first of all, even without reading this, how many calories does a hamburger have? So let's say the hamburger, right, has H calories. And then you've also got the fries. So let's say the fries have F calories. So these are the variables. And then what do? At a lunch stand, each hamburger has 50 more calories than fries, right? So what does it mean? This hamburger has means equals 50 more means 50 plus, and fries is F. So H is equal to 50 plus F. That's your first equation. Now the second equation is 2 hamburgers. So 2 hamburgers, I'm going to replace this hamburgers with H, and 3 fries is F plus and is plus. So you'll just write down 2H plus 3F is equal to 1700. And now they're asking you how many calories does a hamburger have. Simple. You've got this value, just plug it in. So how do you plug this in? I'm just going to change this fries to H minus 50, because you see I can subtract the 50 from here. So I get, in other words, I get fries is equal to H minus 50. Why am I doing this? Because I want to take the fries and put it inside here. Once I put the fries here, I'll have an equation in H, and that's what they're asking. Remember, I'm trying to find out the value of H. So what do? We write 2H plus 3 times the fries is H minus 50, right? And that is equal to 1700. All right, now let's just distribute this. You get 2H plus 3H, and then here, and then minus 50, which gives you negative 150 is equal to 1700. Right, now it's easy, just add this 2H plus 3H. I'm just going to write this down over here. You get 5H like this, and then you add the 150 to this side, you get 1700 plus 150, that gives you 1850. And then what do? You divide by 5 on both sides. So therefore H is equal to 1850 divided by 5. So you'll have to calculate this 1850 divided by 5, and that value is 370 calories. And so that's your answer. Okay, so remember, you have 2 equations, this one and then this one, and you're just doing a simple system of equations idea. You can just substitute it and then you will get the answer this way. Now I got a logic problem for you. Instead of 50, how about I make this equal to 100, and instead of 1700, I make this equal to 3400, double. So this doubled and this doubled. Now can you guess how many calories a hamburger has? Remember, in the previous problem we had about 370 calories. Can you guess what would happen here? Would it double? Would it remain the same? Would it half? What would happen? Think about it. If you have 100 more calories, and then the calories also have doubled here, which have become 3400. So post your answers in the comments. What do you think happens in this case? And let's move on to the next problem. Okay, last question on the no calculator section of the SAT. So how do you solve this? In triangle ABC, so we just mark this ABC here. Remember, you always want to draw it out. B is 90, so this is 90 here. BC is 16, so this is 16. AC is 20 here. This is the hypotenuse, obviously. And DEF is similar to ABC, so I've written it over here, DEF. Okay, and then it corresponds, which means D goes to A, right? D goes to A here, E goes to B. So D goes to A, E goes to B, and F goes to C. Now we've got all of this information. We don't even need any of this anymore. Each side of the triangle of DEF is 1/3. So in other words, this guy is 1/3 of this. So of course it's going to be 16 divided by 3. This guy's going to be 20 divided by 3, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Now what they're saying is, what is the value of sine of F? Okay, sine of F is here, right? And you want to find out the value of sine of F. So because F is similar, you really only want to find out the sine of C. So sine of F is actually equal to sine of C. Remember, this is going to help you. This is going to save a lot of time. It'll reduce the number of calculations as well. What is sine of C? Sine of C is SOHCAHTOA. So remember, how do you do SOHCAHTOA from the SOHCAHTOA idea? Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. And the opposite over here is this guy. How do you find this guy? You're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So let's say this is A, then you do A squared plus 16 squared is equal to 20 squared. Okay, and then let's actually calculate it. Therefore, you get a squared is equal to 20 squared minus 16 squared. So that gives you 400 minus 256. And that answer is 144. So a squared is 144. So a is equal to 12. In other words, this value is equal to 12. And now the final step, right? Opposite over hypotenuse. What's the opposite? It's always this side, the one that never touches the angle. And therefore, sine of f is equal to sine of c. So you're trying to find sine of c, which is 12 over the hypotenuse, which is 20. So 12 over 20, right? And now you just write this, reduce this, you get 3 over 5, and that's your answer. So remember, sine of c is equal to 3 over 5 using this method. You don't even have to consider this triangle. It's just a waste of time. What they're saying is just find out sine of c, and that's it. The other triangle is not even important in this question. All right, now that we've already looked at this problem and you already know this length is 12, can you find out what is the cosine? What is the cosine of d equal to? In other words, what's the cosine of d? Remember, the main idea is d is actually equal to a. All you need to do is find the cosine of a. And what is the cosine of a? Remember, SOHCAHTOA ka, right? In the SOHCAHTOA, there's a ka idea in the SOHCAHTOA principle. So how do you do it? It's equal to a over h, which is the adjacent over hypotenuse. So how do you find the adjacent of this? Is the one that touches it divided by the hypotenuse. Okay, that's the hint for you. So post your answers in the comments. Let's see if you can solve it. This is a very interesting problem for you to attempt.